Imagine this: one of the world's most influential entrepreneurs, a man who has changed the way we think about technology, space exploration, and even the future of humanity, sitting down with one of the most powerful rulers in the world. The conversation takes a turn toward the deep and philosophical. The topic? The existence of God. What Elon Musk says in response will shock you and make you question your own beliefs about science, faith, and the nature of reality. Let's dive into this incredible conversation that left the Saudi prince and the world stunned. It's no secret that Elon Musk has made headlines for his extraordinary ventures and his groundbreaking ideas. Whether it's Tesla's electric cars, SpaceX's reusable rockets, or Neuralink's brain-machine interfaces, Musk is undoubtedly one of the most influential visionaries of our time. His work has redefined industries, revolutionized transportation, and pushed the boundaries of what we thought was possible in the realms of technology and space exploration. But despite all his accomplishments in the tech world, there's one question many still wonder about. What about his personal beliefs? Does a mind that's constantly pushing the boundaries of science and technology leave room for something as ancient as faith? This question is particularly intriguing given the nature of Musk's work. He has a profound understanding of the physical world, driven by the principles of logic, reason, and scientific experimentation. He's a man who places faith in data, in numbers, in algorithms, and in facts. Yet, as anyone who's ever explored the nature of existence can attest, the mysteries of life often go beyond what science can fully explain. And it's precisely this tension between science and spirituality that makes Musk's personal beliefs so fascinating. In early 2023, Elon Musk was invited to Saudi Arabia for a prestigious meeting with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The meeting was not just a diplomatic gesture. It was meant to discuss potential collaborations between Musk's companies and the kingdom, particularly in areas like clean energy, space exploration, and artificial intelligence. These are all fields where the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has been making significant investments as part of its Vision 2030 initiative, which seeks to diversify the country's economy and reduce its dependency on oil. The two men, both known for their bold ideas and larger-than-life ambitions, had much to discuss. Over the course of the meeting, the conversation ranged from cutting-edge technologies like Tesla's advancements in renewable energy to SpaceX's plans to revolutionize space travel. As leaders in their respective fields, they shared an understanding of how innovation could shape the future of humanity. The dialogue between Musk and the Crown Prince was rich with possibilities and opportunities for collaboration. But as the conversation progressed, one unexpected topic began to surface: God's existence. What began as a discussion about the future of humanity quickly evolved into a philosophical conversation about the nature of existence itself. Musk and Prince Mohammed both have unique perspectives, shaped by different experiences and worldviews. The Crown Prince, deeply rooted in his Islamic faith, views the world through the lens of religious teachings and spiritual guidance. On the other hand, Musk, a man driven by scientific reasoning and technology, views existence through the lens of data, facts, and observable phenomena. And yet in that moment, they both found themselves confronted by the same age-old question: does God exist? It was during a quieter moment in the meeting, after the discussions about business and technology had come to a pause, that the Crown Prince turned to Musk and asked a question that had been on his mind. Elon, do you believe in God? For most people, this would be a deeply personal question, and it certainly caught Musk off guard. But as Musk is known to do in situations where he's faced with a challenging question, he paused, thought for a moment, and then responded. It wasn't an answer Musk had likely prepared for, nor was it a simple yes or no response. Rather, it was an acknowledgement of the complexity of the question. Musk began by acknowledging something that anyone with a deep sense of curiosity about the universe might feel. The more you learn about the universe, the more you realize how much remains unknown. In many ways, the very act of studying the cosmos, the study of galaxies, black holes, and quantum physics, can lead one to question the very nature of reality itself. After all, science has uncovered so many extraordinary things about the universe, yet it has also revealed how much we still don't understand. "I think the more you know about the universe," Musk began, "the more you realize there's so much we don't know. That's where faith can come in. It's about recognizing that not everything can be explained by logic and science." This was a striking response. Musk, a man whose life has been devoted to the pursuit of scientific knowledge, was essentially suggesting that faith, something often seen as a counterpoint to science, could coexist with the search for knowledge. For many, it was a revelation. The man who had made his fortune in technology was acknowledging that there were things beyond the scope of human understanding, things that might require faith to even begin to comprehend. Prince Mohammed, surprised by Musk's answer, responded by sharing his own beliefs. As a devout Muslim, the Crown Prince spoke about the profound sense of faith he derives from his religious convictions, which guide his daily life and decisions. For him, faith in God is not just an abstract concept. It is a core principle that shapes his worldview and his actions. It's clear that he sees the hand of God in everything, from the beauty of nature to the success of his nation's initiatives. The conversation between Musk and Prince Mohammed, however, wasn't just a philosophical debate. It became a moment of mutual respect. Two men from different worlds, both grappling with the vastness of the universe, trying to understand their place within it. Musk, whose work has long focused on understanding the universe through science, began to consider the possibility that faith could play a role in navigating life's greatest mysteries. Prince Mohammed, meanwhile, was intrigued by Musk's view of the universe as a place filled with endless questions, acknowledging that science and technology could provide insights, but perhaps not all of the answers. What happened next was nothing short of eye-opening. Neither man left the conversation with a definitive answer, but both walked away with a deeper appreciation for the other's perspective. The Crown Prince, with his deep belief in God, came to understand that even someone like Musk, who looks to science and reason for understanding, can find awe in the universe. And Musk, for his part, realized that faith doesn't necessarily have to be at odds with science. It can exist alongside it, in a way that allows humans to embrace both the known and the unknown. This conversation, while it didn't lead to any earth-shattering revelations, served as a reminder that the most profound questions, those about life, existence, and the nature of the universe, often require us to look beyond the confines of logic and data. In that brief moment, Elon Musk and Prince Mohammed bin Salman both took a step back from their lofty ambitions and acknowledged the mystery and wonder that comes with being human. For them, the future might lie in the stars, but it's the questions we ask along the way, questions of science, faith, and everything in between, that truly matter. It all started as a casual exchange during a break in the meeting. The conversations had been full of high-stakes talks about innovation, technology, and futuristic visions of space travel. Elon Musk, with his renowned ability to push boundaries, had been in the spotlight, presenting his latest ideas for sustainable energy, artificial intelligence, and the possibilities of Mars colonization. Prince Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS as he's known, had been engaged as well, discussing his country's ambitious plans for transformation under Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030. Their meeting was meant to focus on business, collaborations between Musk's companies in the kingdom, particularly in green energy and space exploration, but as it often happens when two highly intelligent visionary leaders meet, the conversation drifted into more profound territories. What began as a conversation about the future of humanity, technology, and global progress gradually shifted into something far more existential. It might have seemed out of place for a business negotiation, but for these two men, who had both spent their careers questioning the impossible and reshaping the world as they saw fit, discussing the fundamental nature of reality felt like the next logical step. After all, they had been pondering the deepest questions of existence for most of their lives, albeit from very different perspectives. While one was a man of deep faith, grounded in tradition and spiritual beliefs, the other was a scientist and inventor, someone whose worldview had been shaped by logic, reason, and scientific inquiry. The stage was set for a truly fascinating exchange of ideas. The moment came when the Crown Prince, a devout Muslim with a deep belief in God, leaned in and asked a simple yet profound question. Do you believe in God? It wasn't a question of challenge or judgment. It wasn't meant to spark a theological debate or to test Musk's character. Instead, it was a question born out of genuine curiosity. The Crown Prince wanted to understand where someone like Musk, an individual who had revolutionized the tech world with his relentless pursuit of logic, data, and reason, stood on one of the most important and ancient questions known to mankind. Where did Musk find himself on the spectrum of faith, especially considering how much of his work has been driven by scientific principles that, for many, stand in opposition to religious belief? Musk, always calm and thoughtful in the face of a challenge, paused. His usual confidence seemed to fade for a moment as the weight of the question sank in. For someone who had spent so much of his life immersed in the world of engineering, rockets, and artificial intelligence, this was not a question that could be answered quickly or easily. The weight of the moment hung in the air, as both men understood that this was more than just a casual inquiry. The question of God's existence had been pondered by philosophers, scientists, and religious scholars for centuries, and now it was being posed by one of the most powerful men in the world to one of the most influential thinkers of the modern age. It was a question that demanded more than a simple yes or no. For Musk, this wasn't just a chance to state a belief. It was a moment to reconcile his deep love for science and its ability to explain the physical world with the mysteries of existence that science, as brilliant as it is, has yet to answer. Musk, who has long been fascinated with the unknowns of space and the vastness of the universe, was also aware of the limitations of human understanding. He knew that even the most advanced technologies and the most sophisticated scientific theories could only take us so far in answering the deepest questions of existence. Questions about why the universe exists, what its ultimate purpose might be, and whether there is something beyond what can be measured or observed. After a long pause, Musk finally spoke. I think the more you learn about the universe, the more you realize how much we don't know, he began. It's something that's both humbling and awe-inspiring. And I think that's where faith can come in. It's not necessarily about rejecting science, but about accepting that there are things we may never fully understand, no matter how much we advance. Musk's voice, though calm, carried a certain reverence, as if he were acknowledging the limits of human comprehension, while expressing a sense of awe for the vastness of the universe. His words were unexpected but not entirely surprising. Musk had always been a man who saw the beauty and mystery of the world through the lens of exploration and discovery. In many ways, his approach to life has always been about embracing the unknown and using science and technology to push beyond the boundaries of what we know. But here, in this intimate conversation with the Crown Prince, Musk was acknowledging that even science, as powerful as it is, cannot answer every question. There is still much about the universe that eludes us, and it's this mystery that many people turn to faith to help navigate. The Crown Prince was clearly taken aback by Musk's response. As a man of deep Islamic faith, he had always viewed the question of God's existence as an essential truth, something that is self-evident and fundamental to understanding life and the universe. Yet here, in front of him, was a man whose intellect and achievements had placed him at the forefront of technological innovation, someone who didn't dismiss faith, but instead seemed to embrace the possibility that there was more to reality than what could be explained by logic or science alone. The prince, who had expected a more straightforward answer, was now faced with the idea that science and faith need not be at odds, but could coexist in harmony. For a moment, the conversation turned reflective. The two men found themselves not in opposition, but rather in mutual contemplation. Musk's response, far from being a dismissal of religion, opened up a deeper conversation about the human condition, the quest for meaning, the search for truth, and the role of both science and faith in understanding the mysteries of existence. The Crown Prince, recognizing the depth of the conversation, smiled. "I understand," he said, his voice warm. "In faith, we are taught that the universe is a sign, a manifestation of the Creator's power and wisdom. We don't know everything, but we believe that everything has a purpose. Musk nodded thoughtfully. I can appreciate that, he replied. I think the quest for understanding, whether through science or faith, comes from a similar place, the desire to know, to explore, and to understand the world around us. The conversation between the two men, though not leading to any definitive conclusions about the existence of God, became a moment of mutual respect. They had both come to understand that there are limits to human knowledge and that there are questions that may remain unanswered. Yet in their shared curiosity they found common ground, a reminder that the pursuit of truth, in whatever form it may take, is a journey worth embarking on. As the meeting resumed and the two men returned to discussing the future of technology and innovation, there was an unspoken understanding between them that the mysteries of the universe, whether explored through science or faith, would continue to inspire wonder and curiosity for generations to come, and that, in the end, it is the search itself, the quest to understand, that truly defines the human experience. Musk began by acknowledging something many of us might feel deep down. The universe is an incredibly vast, mysterious place. With the rapid advancement of science and technology over the last few centuries, we've gained an immense amount of knowledge about the cosmos. From the intricacies of quantum mechanics to the vastness of deep space, humans have come a long way in their understanding of the physical world. Yet, the more we learn, the more it seems like we are only scratching the surface. As we peer deeper into the unknown, the mysteries of existence, meaning, and purpose become ever more pronounced. The more we study the stars, the more we realize just how tiny we are in the grand expanse of the universe. And with that realization, many of us inevitably start to ask deeper questions, questions that transcend the physical and touch on the metaphysical. Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? Is there a higher power behind all this? Musk's acknowledgement of this truth was both profound and relatable. Despite his intellectual achievements, he shared the sense of awe and wonder that many of us feel when contemplating the vastness of the cosmos. He didn't shy away from the notion that there are limits to human understanding, even with the sophisticated tools and technologies available to us. Musk, for all his brilliance and technological feats, was admitting that some of the most profound aspects of existence were still beyond the reach of science. The humbling fact that the more we discover, the more we realize how much we don't know, seemed to be something Musk had come to terms with over the years. But instead of offering a concrete answer to the questions of God's existence, Musk offered a surprising perspective. I think the more you know about the universe, the more you realize there's so much we don't know. That's where faith can come in. It's about recognizing that not everything is explainable by logic and science. The words hung in the air, and the Crown Prince, who had expected a more definitive stance from Musk, was momentarily taken aback. Musk, the man who had revolutionized the tech world, created electric cars that were reshaping the future of transportation, and sent rockets into space, was now acknowledging that there are things beyond the scope of human comprehension. He was not dismissing science, as many might have expected from someone of his stature. Instead, he was humbly acknowledging that there are aspects of the universe that even the most brilliant minds can't fully explain. Musk's perspective was radical, not in a way that challenged science, but in a way that accepted the limitations of human understanding. It was an admission of humility from a man who had made an entire career out of defying the impossible. For someone who had seen the world through the lens of data, logic, and reason for most of his life, Musk's statement was surprisingly open-minded. Here he was, a man who had created some of the most innovative technologies of the century, suggesting that faith might play a role in reconciling the mysteries of the universe. Faith, in this context, wasn't just a leap into the unknown. It was an acknowledgement that not everything could be measured or understood through scientific means alone. This was a moment of profound clarity. Musk was drawing a line between the domains of science and faith, showing that while science could provide answers to many questions, it also recognized its limitations when it came to the biggest mysteries of life. The Crown Prince, deeply grounded in his Islamic faith, was surprised by this response. He had always considered faith to be an inherent part of the human experience, an essential aspect of understanding the purpose of life and the universe. For him, belief in God was not just a matter of personal conviction, it was foundational to his worldview. Yet in front of him stood a man whose achievements in the realm of science and technology were nothing short of extraordinary, and Musk was acknowledging the very thing that Prince Mohammed held so dearly. That even in the most advanced technologies and the greatest intellectual feats, there was room for faith. The Crown Prince, who had likely expected a more scientific or materialistic answer from Musk, found himself in an entirely new space, a space where logic and faith could coexist. Musk's words had unlocked a new perspective, one that invited him to see that faith didn't necessarily have to be in opposition to science. In fact, they could complement each other. Faith could fill the gaps where science's answers fell short. Faith could offer solace in the face of the unknown, providing a sense of meaning and purpose where science had yet to reach. For the Crown Prince, this moment was revelatory. It was as though the conversation had opened a doorway to a new realm of understanding, one where both faith and reason could be appreciated as integral parts of the human experience. Musk's answer wasn't an argument for or against God's existence, but rather a thoughtful reflection on the limits of human knowledge. He had always been a person who valued answers, driven by the desire to solve problems and push the boundaries of what was possible. But in this moment, he was embracing the idea that some of the greatest mysteries may never have definitive answers. Instead of offering a stark black-and-white response, Musk had offered a nuanced view that left room for mystery, for wonder, and for belief. He was saying that it was okay to not know everything. It was okay to leave space for faith and for the questions that science couldn't answer. This moment marked a turning point in the conversation between Musk and the Crown Prince. It wasn't just about science versus faith. It was about the recognition that both had their place in the pursuit of understanding. For the Crown Prince, a man of profound faith, Musk's humility was an eye-opener. Musk wasn't dismissing religion or spiritual belief. He was simply acknowledging that science couldn't explain everything, and that some questions, like the existence of God, might be beyond the reach of logic and reason. For Musk, the conversation about faith wasn't a rejection of science. It was an invitation to explore a different dimension of human experience, one that embraced the mysteries of existence without needing to explain them all. This exchange between the two men wasn't just about theology or philosophy. It was a profound recognition of the complexity of existence itself. The Crown Prince, deeply connected to his faith, understood that the universe's mysteries were not to be solved by human intellect alone. And Musk, with his deep scientific knowledge, recognized that there were questions that lay beyond the grasp of even the most advanced technologies. In that moment, both men had an unspoken understanding. They might never find all the answers, but in the pursuit of truth, whether through science or faith, they could continue to explore, question, and seek meaning in the vast and mysterious universe. As the conversation continued, it became clear that neither man had expected such a deep, reflective moment. But in the end, it was perhaps the most meaningful part of their entire meeting. The realization that faith and science could coexist, both respecting their own domains, was a profound takeaway, one that left both men with a new understanding of each other and a renewed appreciation for the mysteries of existence. The conversation began to shift as the minutes passed. What started as a casual discussion about the existence of God, something that could easily have been dismissed as too philosophical for a business meeting, soon blossomed into something deeper, more introspective, and more personal. The exchange had evolved into an exploration of the very essence of what it means to be human. In a world so often driven by technology, progress, and achievement, the two men found themselves connecting on a more existential level, talking about the mysteries of existence that neither science nor religion alone could fully explain. For Musk, a man whose life had been dedicated to pushing the boundaries of science and technology, the conversation was an opportunity to reflect on something more than rockets, electric cars, and artificial intelligence. As someone who had revolutionized multiple industries, and pioneered technological innovations that were transforming the future. Musk had spent much of his life focused on tangible solutions to the world's most pressing problems. But even he could not deny the moments when the vastness of the universe, its beauty, its complexity, and its unfathomable mysteries left him in awe. "I think about space and the possibilities beyond Earth," Musk confessed, his voice taking on a reflective tone. "And it fills me with a sense of something greater than just atoms and molecules. There are moments in life, whether it's gazing up at the stars or contemplating the complexity of life on Earth, that leave me wondering if there's more to this than we can ever fully comprehend." His words were not those of a scientist, simply fascinated by the stars, but of a person humbled by the grandeur of the universe. Musk had long been captivated by space, not just as a physical frontier to be explored, but as a symbol of the mysteries that lay beyond human understanding. Space was the ultimate unknown, and while Musk had dedicated much of his life to exploring the physical laws that governed it, there was still a part of him that felt that the answers to the most profound questions would forever elude him. What is the purpose of it all? Why? Does anything exist at all? Could science ever provide all the answers, or was there something more to the universe, something that transcended logic and reason? The Crown Prince, who had been listening intently, smiled as he absorbed Musk's words. For a moment, the two men were no longer the business leaders of Tesla and Saudi Arabia, the architects of monumental projects and ambitious futuristic visions. Instead, they were two individuals reflecting on their shared curiosity about life, the universe, and the meaning of it all. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, one raised in a culture steeped in religious tradition, the other a child of Silicon Valley, driven by data and innovation, they found common ground in their respect for the unknown. Musk's words seemed to resonate with the Crown Prince, who had always held a deep sense of reverence for the mysteries of the world. As a man of faith, Prince Muhammad had been taught that there were things in the universe that could only be understood through belief in a higher power, in a divine purpose. To him, the very existence of the world and everything in it was a sign of God's greatness and design. The unknown was not something to fear, but something to embrace. It was the canvas on which humanity could paint its greatest achievements, and also where the hand of the divine could be perceived in the smallest of details. For a moment, the Crown Prince found himself deeply moved by Musk's reflection. It was rare for him to hear someone with such a scientific background acknowledge the limitations of science in explaining the totality of existence. Musk, someone who had revolutionized technology and engineering, seemed to recognize that there were gaps in human understanding that could not be filled with equations or technological breakthroughs. The Crown Prince had always believed in a higher power, but now, in this unexpected conversation, he saw that Musk too felt the awe and wonder of the universe, even though his approach was rooted in science. They might have different beliefs, but the respect for the profound mysteries of life was something they both shared. "It's amazing, isn't it?" the Crown Prince said, his voice full of warmth and understanding. "No matter how much we learn, there are always things that remain beyond our grasp. We can look at the stars, at the vastness of the universe, and yet, there will always be more to discover, more to understand. But that doesn't mean we stop searching." His words reflected his own faith, a belief that the search for understanding was not only a journey through the physical world, but a spiritual one as well. Musk nodded thoughtfully. He knew exactly what the Crown Prince meant. It wasn't just about finding answers through logic or reason, it was about the journey itself, the willingness to ask the big questions and to keep searching for meaning. "Yes," Musk agreed, "and I think that's what keeps us going. It's the mystery, the possibility that there's something more than what we can see. It's that sense of wonder, that spark, that keeps us looking up at the stars and asking, what's out there? What's the point of it all?" The conversation between Musk and the Crown Prince wasn't about proving one side right or wrong. It was about the shared human experience of curiosity and exploration. Both men were, in their own ways, on a quest for truth, and neither saw science or faith as mutually exclusive. Instead, they recognized that each could provide something valuable to the other. Science could uncover the mechanisms of the universe, but faith could offer a sense of purpose and connection to something greater than oneself. As the conversation continued, it became clear that they were no longer trying to convince each other of the validity of their respective viewpoints. Instead, they were acknowledging that there were aspects of existence that transcended what could be explained by human intellect alone. They were engaging in a deeper, more personal exchange about what it meant to be human, to question, to seek answers, and to marvel at the mysteries of life. For Musk, the conversation was a reminder that even in the world of innovation and technology, there were moments that demanded awe and reverence. Despite all his technological achievements, there were still moments when the vastness of the universe left him speechless. For the Crown Prince, it was a chance to reflect on how faith and reason could coexist, how the mysteries of the universe could be embraced from both a spiritual and intellectual perspective. As the discussion came to a close, both men felt a sense of connection that transcended the boundaries of business, technology, and even belief. They had explored the unknown together, and in doing so had come to realize that there was much more to existence than could ever be captured by equations, data, or religious dogma alone. In the end, it was the shared human experience, the Mai Dao need to ask big questions, to seek meaning, and to respect the mysteries of life, that truly defined their conversation. And that in itself was a powerful reminder of the deep, uncharted territories of the human spirit. In the end, the conversation between Elon Musk and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman didn't resolve with any definitive conclusions. There were no bold declarations, no sudden realizations, and no final answers to the big questions about life, the universe, and the nature of existence. Musk didn't declare himself an atheist, nor did he suddenly profess to be a devout believer. Instead, what emerged from their discussion was something more nuanced, something that reflected a deeper understanding of the complexities of both science and faith. Musk embraced the idea that there is room for both science and faith to coexist, even if they explore different dimensions of existence. Both men had spent their lives pursuing knowledge, but from different angles. One sought understanding through the lens of technology, data, and logic, while the other found answers through spirituality, tradition, and divine belief. Rather than pushing one belief system over the other, the conversation was a recognition that the quest for truth often leads us down many paths. Science, with all its marvels and discoveries, can explain many of the mechanisms of the universe. But science, as powerful as it is, has its limits. It can't answer every question, especially when it comes to the deeper meanings of existence or the mysteries of life that can't be quantified or measured. And for Musk, a person who has built his life around the pursuit of technological breakthroughs and scientific advancements, this conversation with the Crown Prince was a reminder of something he had often acknowledged in his own life. Not everything can be explained by logic. There are moments when the unknown cannot be dissected by numbers, equations, or data points. Similarly, faith isn't about having all the answers either. Faith allows space for doubt, mystery, and wonder. It invites people to embrace the things that science cannot easily explain, those questions about life and existence that science often leaves untouched. For the Crown Prince, his belief in God was rooted in the understanding that not everything in the universe is meant to be understood by human minds. Faith in this sense was not about proving the existence of God with facts and figures, but about embracing the unknown and acknowledging a higher purpose that transcends the limits of human comprehension. The conversation between Musk and the Crown Prince became more of a reflection on the human condition itself, a shared understanding that both science and spirituality have a place in our lives, even though they might lead us in different directions. One seeks answers through empirical evidence, testing hypotheses and pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the physical world. The other seeks answers through the heart, through belief, and through a recognition of a higher power, the divine or the unseen. In their discussion, there was no attempt to reconcile the two completely. Instead, there was mutual respect for the fact that each approach offers something valuable in its own way. Science brings us the tools to shape the future, while faith offers us the strength and courage to face the unknown. The conversation left both men with a sense of respect for each other's perspectives. While they may not have resolved the great questions of life and existence, they had gained a deeper appreciation for the different ways that human beings search for meaning. And perhaps that was the most profound takeaway from their discussion. For Musk, it was a reminder that sometimes, even with all the knowledge we accumulate through science and technology, there are still things that defy our understanding. Embracing the unknown, instead of fearing it, is one of the most powerful things we can do as human beings. It allows us to remain open to new possibilities, to accept that some things may always remain beyond our grasp, and to stay curious in the face of uncertainty. For the Crown Prince, the conversation sparked a reflection on the role of faith in guiding not only his personal life, but also the future of his country. Faith, in his view, was not just a set of doctrines to be followed. It was a framework for understanding the world, one that allowed for mystery, wonder, and humility in the face of the vast unknown. In a world increasingly dominated by technological advancements and scientific progress, the Crown Prince understood that the spiritual dimension of life was just as important as the material one. The ability to remain grounded in faith, even as the world changes around us, was a powerful reminder of the importance of balance in the pursuit of knowledge. The takeaway from this conversation wasn't about who was right or wrong, or about resolving the age-old debate between science and faith. Instead, it was a recognition that the pursuit of knowledge, whether through technology or spirituality, is a journey that never truly ends. There will always be new questions to ask, new mysteries to explore, and new frontiers to push. Both Musk and the Crown Prince understood that the search for truth is not a destination, but an ongoing journey, one that requires both curiosity and humility. As Musk and the Crown Prince parted ways, there was a quiet understanding between them. They hadn't arrived at any definitive answers, but they had shared a moment of genuine connection, a mutual recognition that the human quest for meaning and purpose is what drives us forward, regardless of where we come from or what we believe. In the vastness of the universe where science and faith both hold their places, perhaps the most important thing we can do is simply keep searching. Keep asking the big questions. Keep seeking understanding, whether through the lens of reason or the heart of faith. It is this curiosity and willingness to explore the mysteries of life that truly define us as human beings. The conversation between Musk and the Crown Prince wasn't just a momentary exchange of ideas. It was a shared reflection on what it means to be human in a world filled with uncertainty and wonder. It reminded both men that the pursuit of knowledge, whether in the realms of technology or spirituality, is not about finding all the answers. It is about embracing the journey itself and recognizing that the questions, not the answers, are what drive us toward growth, discovery, and ultimately, a deeper understanding of the world and our place within it.